New Yorkers do not want a mayor who is working in tandem with the president. I intend to make it clear to President Trump that I will work with him on any agenda that benefits New Yorkers.
You know how commies are. That's Mamdani, the commie, 2 weeks ago, saying people of New York don't want a mayor that's working with the president of the United States. And then the same man, a matter of days later, saying, I am working with the president of the United States. Because he's a communist. He needs billions of dollars to pay for his demented fantasies. You know, the rail spurs, the gas chambers, all that stuff. I'll get to that in due time. In due time, my good friends. Well, a very good and happy Friday to you all. We are at 888-630-9625. Today in the House of Representatives, there will be a vote. And the Democrats, they're kind of in a tough spot here. It's a vote to condemn the horrors of socialism. You know, Joseph Stalin and Fidel Castro and Pol Pot and Mao Zedong. I like Mao Zedong best. I think Mao Zedong is my favorite. He killed the most people of anyone in the history of the world. And a lot of Democrats are expected to say, no, I really can't, I can't condemn socialism. So they're going to vote to support socialism. And then the communist mayor of New York is headed to the White House today for a 3 p.m. Eastern time meeting with Donald John Trump, the president of the United States, who is not a communist, not a commie at all. Well, you know how they are. The Democrats, they actually had a similar vote a couple of years ago. You know how many Democrats voted in favor of socialism? And they're talking about, we're talking about the murders and the executions and the gulags. And I like the old term, the gulag archipelago. I like that because it's two words that your average Democrat will never understand. A gulag, even though the left created them, and an archipelago, which is a bunch of islands out in the water. And Democrats might think they'd flip over if you put too many Marines on one side of an island. You know, the mental dwarfism that has been made normal is, well, it ought to be at least, rather disturbing. Can I use rather in this context? I think I can. So we've got that going. And their headlines, although I got National Panhandler Radio. They've got a headline on the Zohran Mamdani visit to the White House today. The headline is, here's what to expect when Trump and Mamdani meet on Friday. And I went through headline after headline. They've got, and story after story. Just amazing. They got a lot of stories and a lot of headlines that say, Trump called Mamdani a communist. And they leave out nowhere in the story do you find Mamdani called Trump a fascist. But that's not in the story because the filthy, illiterate, fake journalist people, you know, the news people, they're not news people. They're Democrat bootleg. I'll keep it clean and call them bootlicks, because that's what they do. It's good to be a Democrat. Got the whole news media fluffing you, oiling up, doing the hot oil massage on you every day. I'm going like this with my hands because the Democrats and the hot oil massage on Democrats, it's like that. Trump and Mamdani meet Friday in the Oval Office. They've cast each other as adversaries for months. Really, the Democrat mayor of New York, the mayor-elect, has cast the president of the United States as his adversary? Oh, that's right. He's a commie, a stinking, filthy commie. So we got that going. And in Chicago, speaking of Democrats, that Democrat set the lady on fire a couple of days ago, drenched her in gasoline and set her on fire. And he's been arrested now, and he's not one of the good guys. But the Democrats might turn him into George Floyd. He could become a folk hero in no time. Their sons will want to grow up to be fire boy here on the Chicago Transit Authority train where he set the lady on fire. And turns out the guy has been arrested 53 times before for a whole litany of violent crimes, assaults, and they just keep letting him out. You can go. Go ahead. We're not going to do anything until you set a lady on fire on the subway train, the last judge said. Did the last judge say that, Mike? The last judge didn't really say that, but the last judge might have said that. We're not going to do anything until you set somebody on fire on a subway train. So he went in and he set somebody on fire on a subway train. Just amazing. Also, we got a crazy story. The Democrats, they fill my cup every day. Kempsville High School. The assistant principal and his brother were overheard discussing violently attacking ICE agents. This is the school, the assistant principal. When I was a kid, assistant principals were like, dull people who are hoping to become principals sometime in their life. Virginia Beach, Virginia is the dateline. A Kempsville High School assistant principal and his brother are facing charges stemming from an alleged conversation they had about threatening to hurt ICE agents for the, quote, kidnapping individuals. They're arresting illegal alien gang members and things like that. And the news media, they're beside themselves. They're standing next to themselves, in fact. A possible meeting, they're arranging for a kidnapping. ICE agents were kidnapping individuals, the assistant principal and his brother said. And a possible meeting with other like-minded individuals. It's kind of haughty and lofty to say like-minded. That implies that there's a mind at work here. Like-minded individuals to discuss ideas and plans, according to a criminal complaint. Mark Bennett, 59 years old, and John Bennett, 54 years old. They were never any good, those Bennett boys. They're always bad news. John Bennett and Mark Bennett, 54, were arrested at Norfolk International Airport. They're probably fleeing the country, going to someplace nice like Venezuela, where, the cops will kill you on the spot. But never mind that. Norfolk International Airport, arrested around 9:40 a.m. on Wednesday, and at 10:50 a.m., respectively, the two of them, they're two brothers, with the help of airport police. Airport police, it's dangerous work with Democrats out there. It is, actually. The Bennetts are brothers, police say. We already knew that. And News 3 confirmed John Bennett is one of Kempsville High's assistant principals. How many assistant principals do they have? News 3 obtained a criminal complaint outlining the alleged conversation between the brothers that led to their arrests. On Saturday, November 15th, an off-duty Norfolk police officer was having lunch at a Virginia Beach restaurant. Sounds very nice, doesn't it? At the same time as the Bennett brothers, the complaint says. We should call them, it just says the Bennetts, but I prefer the Bennett brothers. Sounds more like criminals when you say the Bennett brothers. The officer claims he overheard the brothers talking about how ICE agents are kidnapping individuals. That's Democrat Party talking point, Democrat news media talking point. It's called, illegal aliens being arrested, usually gang members, child sex abusers, murderers, people wanted in their own countries. But when you're a Democrat, you say, well, let's let them all go. What's the worst that could happen? What are they going to do, set a woman on fire on the subway train or something? So just amazing stuff, yeah. How ICE agents are kidnapping individuals and that they need to do something about it. During the conversation, the Bennett brothers allegedly told each other that they were going to fly to Las Vegas to meet with like-minded people in Las Vegas, and return with enforcement ideas and plans. Sure. He also said recently bought an assault rifle, he said during the conversation at the Virginia Beach restaurant. Bought an assault rifle, got a take on. The Democrat Party is this close to launching civil war in the United States of America. The Democrat Party's second to civil war. I'm holding my right index finger less than 1 inch over my right thumb when I say they're this close to launching a civil war. The Democrat Party against federal law enforcement. These guys should be gassed. They should get the death penalty. And maybe they could choose the firing squad. I don't know what they do in Virginia, but that's good. Told his brother he's going to fly to Las Vegas. Meet with like-minded individuals. Got an AR-15 rifle. And then John Bennett, one of the brothers, said he wanted to go hunting. That's the language he used. Go hunting, as the complaint alleges. Expressed interest in going with his brother to Las Vegas because, that's some people want to go to gamble or maybe meet nice girls or something like that. These guys want to join a death cult to start a civil war in the United States. The complaint says Mark Bennett bought a ticket to fly to Las Vegas on Wednesday, November 19th, the day he and his brother were arrested at Norfolk International Airport. Hey, Las Vegas isn't outside of the country. That's not international. Both men are charged with one count of conspiracy to commit malicious wounding. These allegations of violence against law enforcement, the very ones who protect and serve our communities, are incredibly alarming, said Virginia Beach Police Department Chief Paul Nadugate And he said, "We are grateful. This information was brought to our attention. Virginia Beach Police Department was able to work with various law enforcement agencies to assess the credibility of the information, leading to today's arrests, ensuring the safety of both our law enforcement community and the public at large." Virginia Beach City Public Schools said John Bennett has been with the school district since 2009, and he's currently on leave. I hope he's on leave because he's in Gitmo getting the Perrier Spritz. Remember the Perrier Spritz? You know, waterboarding. I miss that. I still have a great T-shirt home that says, "I'd rather be waterboarding." I'd rather be waterboarding. A nice listener sent that to me because I was talking about how we should have T-shirts like that, and then a nice listener either found one or had one made and sent it to me, and I still wear it. It's great. The incident's still under investigation, and anybody with the information should call the cops and tell them because, you know, these Bennett brothers, bad news, these guys. They should never have been on the loose in the first place. So we've got that going for us. And all kinds of crazy other Democrat stuff, too. Obama talking to freshman Democrats on Capitol Hill. They were very excited. Obama showed up. He was president. He hates them, and he hates America. He hates everybody. And don't become his personal chef in Martha's Vineyard. Let me just warn you about that right now. Obama privately urges freshman Dems to fight cynicism. No sense of irony. They use the words, but they don't know what they mean. Just amazing stuff. Our most important battle, he said, is against cynicism. And then he declared everybody to be a fascist and a racist and everything else. And again, today, the Democrats are going to be voting, presumably or reportedly or allegedly, while we're on the air. Democrats are going to vote in favor of socialism in the House of Representatives because there's a vote coming up today, theoretically, while we're on the air. Sometimes these things get delayed or postponed or pushed back. That's redundant, repetitive, unnecessarily duplicative. But the vote is to condemn the horrors of socialism or not. And it'll be interesting to see how many Democrats say, "No, we like the horrors of socialism." Come on. And something else the Democrats like, in Nigeria, the Muslims, the Islamists, kidnapped yet another group of more than 50 students from a Catholic school in Nigeria. Gunmen came in, and they're holding hostage more than 50 students, which should be frowned upon. And that's the thing on that. I had to jump to something over here, but we got that. Let's turn the ringers on. Let's go ahead and see how that works. That's kind of fun. So yeah, the kidnapping of more Catholic students at a Catholic school by gunmen who are Muslims, who are Islamists, who are jihadis, kind of like Zoran Mamdani. He's a jihadi. He'd be kidnapping students with rifles if he were back home, you know. And didn't he come from Uganda? And that Idi Amin, land of Idi Amin, wasn't Idi Amin a cannibal? Speaking of Haiti, we got an update in Haiti. They have cannibals in Haiti, too. The Democrats and the Clintons and other Democrats made Haiti all better. Now it's a hotbed of cannibalism. Now that and it's run by gangs. And they want to come here, and the Democrats want them to come here, too. They want to bring cannibalism to the United States. They're quite something. And we've got that. That's a big thing. I want to see. I'm going to keep my my eyes peeled and my ear to the ground, all that stuff, and see how many Democrats vote in favor of the horrors of socialism because they think it means free health care. You know they are. Also, Democrats are no fun at all. In California, there's a fancy town, and it's where fancy people live in very expensive houses. And some of the people, older people, they play pickleball. But that's gotten too annoying for the liberals there, so they're voting to ban pickleball because it's too loud and those pickleballers are too rowdy. You know those rowdy pickleballers. Also, Eric Fang Swalwell has announced on entertainment TV last night on Jimmy Kimmel that he's running for governor of California. Next step, President of the United States. Fang has been incredibly successful as a Chinese honeypot secret operative recruiting Democrats in the United States. And now Swalwell is announcing that he's running for governor. California just keeps circling the drain slipping down the rabbit hole, whatever you prefer. So from Nigeria to California, which is a bigger mess, to the horrors of socialism, and our most important battle, Barack Obama, banning pickleball, and the guy in Chicago that set the lady on fire, arrested 53 times. And the Democrats say, let him go. Come on. What's the worst that could happen? All right, Miguel, let's go to the telephones on this great Friday in America. The House of Representatives will condemn the horrors of socialism. A lot of the Democrats won't, though, because you know how they are. Let's go to the phones. Hey, look at that. Let's go to Jason, calling from Kensington, Maryland. Jason, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
G'day, Chris. How you going, mate?
Very well, very well.
You're proving again that you don't need a staff of 50 to run a good radio show. That's for sure.
Apparently that's true, since there are 2.5 of us.
Hey, you mentioned about how close we are to civil war. I would say that if a civil war ever broke out, I think I know which side I would be on. I wouldn't be on the Blue Hair Brigade side. I think they wouldn't do too well in a full-blown civil war. I think,
they're violent and crazy. They got violent and crazy elderly people. They're trying to relive the 1960s and the 1970s, and LSD has even made a comeback.
Yeah. No, it's just crazy. And then these people would like to side with a known pedophile to get information on Trump. I mean, it just shows you how low these people would go. It's just you choose between a pedophile and normal people. They choose a pedophile every time.
They really do, don't they? And then the whole transgender-y thing. Although transgender-y thing is fading away, the Democrats are very angry about that. They keep slamming their genitalia in the drawers of desks and things to protest. It's a new form of protest, slamming male genitalia in the drawer of a desk.
I'm trying to picture that.
Don't spend too much time on it, though, because it's just the thing. But, yeah, they're nuts. And it does, you moved here from Australia, a country far, far away. And you came, I think, long enough ago where we were a pretty normal country. But now we've become quite abnormal, haven't we?
Oh, very abnormal. We're quite normal when I first got here, and now I'm just scratching my head, shaking my head ruefully, so I'm wondering what the hell is going on.
Yeah, it's true. Well, you're not alone, Jason. That's what makes you normal. See, that's the normal. That's why we advocate that we should all remember normal. Let's keep it in mind. We might have to bring it back one day. It's funny, nobody in the news media remembers when Joe Biden deployed 25,000 National Guard troops to Washington, D.C., because Ashley Babbitt had been shot and killed mercilessly by a racist black police officer with the U.S. Capitol Police, Lieutenant Byrd. And he was promoted and celebrated by the Democratic Party because they love killing. They're the party of killing. They usually harvest the organs of the particularly innocent. Yeah, but 25,000 National Guard troops deployed to Capitol as Biden inauguration looms. This is January 16th of 2021. The number of troops deployed in D.C. is more than 3 times those in Iraq and Afghanistan combined. That is, a point worth making. The Fox News Channel on January 16th of 2021. And that was okay because there was a little dust-up for about an hour and a half at the Capitol. Never mind the 3-day siege laid to the White House, the Democrats setting fire to the Church of the Presidents, the 1815 Church, St. John's, across from the White House. Never mind the evacuation of the president and the first family to the underground nuclear-proof bunker. Never mind the 180 police officers injured in the Democrat Party riot. No National Guard called out there. Remember then the news media attacked President Trump because he walked across the street to the Church of the Presidents and held up a Bible. The Democrats had set it on fire. The church, not the Bible. Although they burn the Bible from time to time, too. Just amazing stuff Guard members have fanned out across the U.S. Capitol lawn, inside the building and surrounding areas in D.C. for days. It is an unprecedented security force deemed necessary in the wake of a deadly riot at the Capitol. That's when Ashley Babbitt was shot and killed. She's the only person that was deadlied that day, but never mind that. And continuing threats of domestic terrorism. Yeah, what with the 2 pipe bombs at the RNC headquarters and the DNC headquarters? Have we found that person yet? Because how many decades is it going to take for the entirety of the American law enforcement apparatus to find that pipe bomber? They have videos of the person. They got the person talking on their cell phone with nobody else around for city blocks, and they can't find him. They arrested every grandmother that sat on the lawn at the Capitol on January 6th, but they can't find the pipe bomber. At least 7,000 National Guard troops from dozens of states already on the ground in the nation's capital, January 16th, with more expected to arrive in the coming days at the request of the Secret Service, said Army General Daniel Hokanson, the chief of the National Guard Bureau. The military security force, it's a security force, will be more than 3 times the total number of U.S. troops currently deployed in Iraq and Afghanistan, reflecting heightened concern after supporters of President Trump stormed the Capitol while lawmakers were certifying his loss in the November 3rd presidential election. You know, the one where Joe Biden outdid every president in the history of the country by millions and millions of votes, and it was mail-out ballots and ballot harvesting and pay no attention, no voter ID, and pay no attention to any of that. And then Joe Biden got millions more votes than Hillary Clinton, who's a woman that the Democrats wanted to make president because she was a woman, and she's not anymore, which is interesting, since I said since she was a woman. And it's hard to say now because, you know. Of course, millions more votes than Barack Obama, who was the first black president, and the Democrats turned out in record numbers for him. And then, you know, in record numbers for a woman, then, of course, in record numbers for Joe Biden that broke the previous records because the Democrat Party. But isn't that great? And now the Democrats are very, very angry that President Trump has deployed National Guard troops to fight crime in crime-ridden cities like Chicago, where the mayor of Chicago is absolutely pro-crime. He's for more crime. He wants more murder. And he doesn't want anybody fighting crime, certainly. Also, as a story, one of the things got my attention on this morning is the news breaking this morning. Judge rules Trump's National Guard deployment to D.C. is illegal. Where was this judge in 2021? A federal judge ruled Thursday that President Trump's months-long deployment of thousands of National Guard forces to the streets of Washington, D.C., they're not even troops, they're forces on CBS News, violates federal law. It'll be overturned by the Supreme Court. U.S. District Judge, Gia, J-I-A is the person's first name, Gia Cobb, sided with the D.C. Attorney General Brian Schwalb, who has never prosecuted a crime or a criminal, who sued the federal government over the Guard deployment, arguing it exceeds the president's legal authority. Really, but when Joe Biden deployed 25,000 troops and kept thousands of troops on the streets of Washington for months on end, that was all fine, because Ashley Babbitt had been shot and killed after serving 12 years in the U.S. Air Force honorably and was not expelled for repeated cocaine use like Hunter Biden was expelled from the Navy for repeated cocaine use, but never mind that. But the judge stayed her ruling for 21 days to give the Trump administration a chance to appeal it because Gia knows that it's going to be overturned. White House spokeswoman Abigail Jackson blasted the ruling, arguing that Mr. Trump has the authority to deploy Guard troops in the nation's capital. Jackson called Schwalb's lawsuit nothing more than another attempt at the detriment of D.C. residents to undermine the president's highly successful operations to stop violent crime in D.C. And crime is way down. It's way down in D.C. since, we started fighting crime in D.C. It's way down in Chicago since we started fighting crime in Chicago. But the Democrats are the pro-crime party. And now they've got Gia. Gia. That's the Chia Pet song, right? Because every time I see her name, J-I-A, and I start in my head singing the Chia Pet commercial. But is she a Chia Pet? I haven't even seen her. She is a WOC, though. She's a woman of color. Therefore, you can't disagree with her. Otherwise, you know. Yes, sir. In his own statement following the ruling by Judge Gia, Schwalb, the never prosecute anybody chief law enforcement officer in Washington, D.C., said normalizing the use of military troops for domestic law enforcement sets a dangerous precedent. Not as dangerous as letting Democrats run loose on the streets of Washington and murder people all the time, but where the president can disregard states' independence. You're not a state, and you're not an independent state. You're the federal district. It's called the District of Columbia, and it's the seat of the federal government where we don't have super senators or a super governor. But never mind that. This Schwalb guy is a cancer. He's a cancer. Where the president can disregard states' independence. Again, the guy doesn't know where he is, what his job is, what he's doing, what the Constitution says, and deploy troops wherever and whenever he wants. Well, it's true Republican presidents have had to deploy troops in the past, like to move Democrats out of the way of, Democrat Governor Orval Faubus in Little Rock, Arkansas in 1957 when a Republican president, that would be Dwight Eisenhower, who smashed fascism in Europe, then came home and had to deal with the Democrats. I wonder which he thought was worse. Because, honestly, and he had to move, the 101st Airborne to Little Rock to move Democrat Governor Orval Faubus out of the front door of Central High because he wouldn't allow the school to be racially integrated. He wanted it, insisted that it continued to be racially segregated. And then I had to send the Army down to Alabama to move Democrat Governor George Wallace out of the way to racially integrate a university there, not a high school. But never mind that. So the Republican presidents have had to use the military, 101st Airborne in Little Rock, and guard in many instances where the Democrats were rioting and burning and racially segregating schools and colleges. And, the Democrats, they're not on the side of the good guys, and they're still not on the side of the good guys. And we got this idiot Schwalb in Washington, D.C., in our nation's capital. Man, the D.C. Attorney General Brian Schwalb, who says normalizing the use of military troops for domestic law enforcement, which Joe Biden did for months and months on end with the greatest number ever, 25,000 troops in one city, sets a dangerous precedent where the president can disregard states' independence. He doesn't know the difference between the District of Columbia, where he is the Attorney General, and a state with states' rights. Isn't that amazing? They're not on the side of sanity, these people. They're Ricky. They're all named Ricky, I think. All right, let's see. I've got Zohran Mamdani coming up for you. He's headed to the White House today. He's a communist in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill. They're going to be voting in the House to condemn the horrors of socialism, the most murderous death cult in the history of humankind, quite literally. And many, many Democrats will again vote against condemning socialism, demonstrating the fact that they're pro-socialism, the most murderous death cult in history. So we've got that coming up. And Hakeem Jeffries was asked about communism and socialism, and he did what communists and socialists do, Hakeem Jeffries, and he hates the Jews. So we'll get to him as well. In Chicago, got the idiot mayor there, Brandon Johnson, because they found out that the guy that the Democrats let loose and set the woman on fire on the subway train had been arrested 53 times in the past, including a whole bunch of times fairly recently. And they just let him go. But wait till you hear what he had to say. And we got Eric Swalwell announcing he's running for governor of California, among other things. Yes, sir. All right, let's go back to the telephones, Michael, and talk to the great American people on this Great American Friday. Let's go to Peter, calling from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, where our Attorney General is very afraid that we've got people fighting crime, and he doesn't fight crime. If anybody does, he fights against them. Peter, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Chris, everything you said earlier, I couldn't have said it better. Gia and the Schwab need to be tried for treason.
Yeah.
The country is a mess. D.C. is a mess. And our president's doing everything to fight it. Do you think this nonsense lawsuit is going to even last?
Well, no, I think that it's going to be appealed. And if it does go to the Supreme Court, I think the Supreme Court will say, obviously, the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, has the authority in the District of Columbia, quite specifically and particularly, to deploy Guard troops, which he controls, the D.C. National Guard, to Washington, D.C., because he's the chief executive of the United States of America. And this Schwab guy should not only be kicked out of his post, he should be disbarred for being such an ignorant slut. I'm channeling Dan Aykroyd from Saturday Night Live. But the guy couldn't be more ignorant. I know more about the law than he does. I know more about the Constitution than he does. And he's the Attorney General of our nation's capital, Washington, D.C.
Thank you. We need to all come together and really put an end to this Democratic crime syndicate that we have in this country.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And it's like the Soviet Union has taken over at least the Democratic Party in the United States of America. And the Democratic Party is dangerous. And literally, I've played audio here of several different Democrats talking about civil war in the United States, and they're shooting people. They're assassinating Charlie Kirk and shooting President Trump and shooting Congressman Steve Scalise while trying to wipe out the entire Republican baseball team in a mass political assassination. They're violently attacking the police everywhere for enforcing the laws as passed by the Congress. They're engaged in insurrection. We had audio yesterday of 6 Democrat members of Congress, the House and the Senate, calling for members of the military and the intelligence community to engage in insurrection against the President of the United States, disobey orders. They say, they're not lawful orders. And then you ask the idiots, list the unlawful orders that the President has issued that the military should resist, that they should refuse to carry out. And they can't give you a single example because they have tiny little squirrel brains, don't they, Peter?
Yep, they do. And I really want to just thank you for fighting for this country and for the people. Keep doing what you're doing, man.
Well, thank you very kindly. Piece of cake. I wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah, it's what my mother taught me when I was a child. She was a good mother. She was a great mother. She had 6 of me. And I'm the mellow one. I am the mellow one. Well, we got it. One brother might dispute that. But that's probably just, the whiskey talking. Thank you, Peter. I wouldn't know what else to do. Just fight for truth, justice, and the American way. All right, Michael. Let's go back to the telephones. It's Friday after all. Talk to the nice people, the American people. Let's go to Bill, calling from Bend, Oregon, who's listening on Al Gore's amazing internet and the WMAL stream. Thanks to Al Gore. Peace be upon him. William, you are on the Chris Plant Show.
Oh, hi, Chris. Thanks for taking the call.
Hey, Bill.
I'm amazed. I've heard interviews with these people who have told our service people to disobey the Commander-in-Chief's orders. One of the big complaints was that, the president has not consulted Congress to go into these conflicts. Yet every one of them served either in Iraq or Afghanistan, all served in conflicts where Congress did not declare war. And all of them continued to serve and carry out the Commander-in-Chief's orders. And when it was their turn to disobey, they did not have the courage to do that. And they don't have the courage now because now they're putting it up to the current service people to put their careers on the line and disobey the Commander-in-Chief. They're all hypocrites.
Well, I'd say that's very generous of you. I'd say that they're seditious mutineers. And the president called them seditious too. And then he said, that's punishable by death, sedition. Go ahead.
And every time these people are in an interview, the interviewer should bring that up and say, well, what did you do when you were in the service in these undeclared wars? What did you do? Did you still carry out your orders?
Well, and you know, one of the people in the video, one of the Democrats in the video from Congress, recommending that our entire military perpetrate mutiny against the president because these 6 Democrats didn't vote for him and disagree with him, and they have Trump derangement syndrome. And he was asked 4 times, well, name an illegal order that the president has given that the military should disobey or the intelligence community should disobey. And the idiot just babbled and gave some, I hate Trump talking points and couldn't name an order that the president has given that they thought was an illegal order, because they're snakes and weasels and they are seditious and they are mutineers and they're not good people. They're not honest people. They're not truthful people. They're anti-American people. And Trump derangement syndrome is an actual mental illness, Bill.
It is.
Yeah, and I shared with the psychoanalyst from New York who wrote a piece in the Wall Street Journal last week about TDS being an actual psychological malady. And he explained the number of, he works in New York and Washington, D.C. primarily, and he talked about the number of people with Trump derangement syndrome and how the pathologies associated with TDS conform with other, compulsive neurotic disorders that he has treated people for over the years. And now TDS is the most prominent, the most frequent illness that he's encountering with his patients in his psychoanalytic practice. What do we do about them, Bill?
Exactly. These people need to be called on the carpet for what they say and what they intend to say and what their intentions are and what their innuendos are on this whole thing. So
yeah, and I got to say that these 6 members of Congress, I think the Army should go arrest them. That'd be funny.